Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the interwebs, this is Officer Dan and your guys from Gktech, getting back to the roots, as it were. Anybody that loves the R32 and R33 GT-R and GTS 4 Skylines, this one's for you. It's our front lower control arms. Now, besides hearing Godzilla's iconic scream alongside Japanese people frantically running for their lives screaming Gojira, hides the discreet Gktech black box that houses these Babyzilla arms, with a little sneak peek of the Babyzilla in the background, which is making that goddamn noise. Now we're going to throw you a couple of fancy features we've jammed into these Babyzilla FCAs. You're going to want to head to the website once you stop running for your life for more information. Now on said product page, we list out everything you need to know about these, with some of this baby lizard's favorite fun facts, how much they adjust, and the assembly guide is also there, as well as this very video. Now, as you probably figured, these arms are adjustable. Crazy, right? And their shortest length, they are measured in at 41 millimeters from the base of the arm to the middle of the link rod eye. And as you guessed, this will leave you at the OEM setting that your OEMs already have. Duh. Or you can adjust outward from there to the max safe length, which measures in at 61 millimeters, measuring from the base of the arm to the middle of the link rod eye, which will give you plus 20 millimeters over your OEM lower control arm. Now here's where the option of tension rods comes in, my guy. If you wanted to simply install our lower control arms and keep them at OEM length and don't plan on adjusting out to the maximum, you can keep your OEM tension arms and continue watching on from here. But if you wanted to extend them more than the OEM length and keep your OEM tension rods, is highly recommended to get adjustable tension arms. Being that you are lengthening the lower control arm and your OEM tension rod does not have adjustment, it will unwillingly pull the caster forwards and it will leave you in a position that you don't want to be in, and this is why you would want and need to get adjustable tension rods like we list on the product page. It all makes sense now, doesn't it? Now, we cover both cases obviously because we're freaking awesome. So for the dudes that purchase tension rods or have a set laying around, you can skip the OEM tension arm install segment and we'll insert a cute little timestamp to V-line you straight to the adjustable tension rod install segment with these FLCAs. Meaning in this part of the video, we will be installing just the adjustable FLCA to the OEM tension rod. So if you're ready, we're ready. Let's go. So from here, we will start by winding the arm down to the shortest length being OEM and install this arm with OEM tension rods. The first thing you're going to want to do is raise your Babyzilla up whilst obviously flexing to your groupies and rip your wheel right off. Once you're up in the air, gaze on over at your genuine Japanese cast iron art that will soon be adjustable. Head on over to the inside of the lower control arm and caress and remove the split pin with preferably bullnose pliers and not your teeth. Head on over to the outside of the lower control arm and also caress and remove the split pin there. Again, tools, not teeth, people. Zap off the nuts connecting the tension rod to the lower control arm, but leave them connected for now. Head back over to the inside of the lower control arm and zap that nut off, leaving it on by a couple threads for protection. Pull on out your 3-jaw puller, or in this case your teeth might actually get it, and wind the threaded rod and pop goes your collar. Head to the outside and repeat. There shouldn't be too much genuine Japanese surface thrust holding these things together if you picked up a good one, but if you haven't, our thoughts and prayers are with you, as this will be a challenging time for you. You may want to seek therapy afterwards. Hop on over to the tension rod side, loosen and remove that nut, getting it out of the way for now. Now that everything is loose, you can remove all safety nuts that were stopping this thing from falling out. Apply a sensual amount of pressure to the arm and remove the 2 nuts on the lower control arm, and finally slide that tension rod bolt out. Throw it on the bench, then remove the tension rod from the lower control arm, as in this case we will need it. Now, being that Lizzo collaborated with the engineering team, these bad units needed to be a bit thicker with at least 2 C's and are slightly larger than their OEM ones, meaning the studs needed to be a bit longer to suit, so we need to press the OEM studs out and replace them with the supplied hardware. Bring the tension rod over to the press brace and, well, press. Slide the beautiful and adjustable and new FLCA into the mix with the supplied spacer over the tension rod holes. Throw your bare and studless tension rod on the FLCA away and slide the bolt and washer from the top to the bottom, and then the washers and nuts from the bottom to the top, leaving it all loosey-goosey for now, whilst bringing that assembly back to the car. Whip the tension rod through its bracket, sliding the bolt along through with the nut on the other side. Raise the lower control arm up and seat that ball joint in place. Wind the outer ball joint nut on the bottom, and then the inside ball joint nut on as well. Well, hopefully you've warmed that goddamn torque wrench up, as it's going to get a nice little workout today, and tighten that outside nut to the torque specs shown on the screen, then head to the inside and tighten and torque those to the specs shown on the screen as well. Slide both split pins in both ball joints and curl those girls appropriately. Brace the bolts that connect the FLCA to the tension rod from the top and tighten and torque those bolts to the specs shown here on the screen as well. Now head on over to the front side of the tension rod, securing the head of the bolt and tightening and torquing that nut down to these specs shown here. Now, being that we set our length on the bench to OEM and are happy with it, you need to ensure that the ball joint is not cocked to the left or right but running straight. Once turned, tighten and torque the locking bolt to the specs shown on the screen here and lock that adjustment in place. And in terms of installing the OEM tension rod with your LCA, you're set, my guy. Good work. The OEM length dudes can take a rest. You chose wisely this time, while the aftermarket tension dudes need to come on a short ride with us and your baby Zilla. So from here, if you had aftermarket tension rods already and or wanted to extend past OEM length, meaning you'd need an adjustable tension rod, and in our case we'll be using one of our own beautiful pieces of sex shown right here on the screen. In this case, you would remove the OEM tension rod, get it on the bench, swap the spacer from the OEM tension rod to the adjustable tension rod, and you're back in business. That part was easier at least. Slip that thing back onto the lower control arm and slide the tension rod back into the bracket, slide the bolt through, wind the nut on, and we'll get back to that sucker in just a few. Quick little pro tip, if you did have our tension rods, you need to make sure that the inserts are facing the correct orientation and are going towards the inside of the car to give you wheel clearance. Also, on that note, when fitting the arm, you want to make sure the arm is bending away from the inside of the car. This gives clearance to the end link we're showing here on the screen. Don't worry, the inserts in the front make sure you get all that wheel clearance still. We will cover the tension rod install on its own in another video that may include a little card on the screen to save you the hassle. God, we're good at this. Now, lift up the arm on the inside to seat the taper and whip that nut up, tighten, then torque that sucker down to the specs shown on the screen. While you're there, turn the ball joint so it's not cocked to the left or to the right to ensure it's running straight, then tighten and torque that locking bolt to the specs shown here as well. Head on over to the inside of the arm and tighten and torque the nuts from the tension rod while securing the top head of the bolt to the specs shown here on the screen. Then, head to the tension rod side, tighten and torque that nut to the specs shown on the screen, whilst making sure the utmost important thing being that the rose joint is running centrally and not cocked to the left or right. Once again, central, people. Hold the adjuster and tighten both locking nuts down as you can see here on the screen. And guess what? You're done. Your baby Zilla can now scream with the joy of having more track width, overall more aggression, and fitment, and, well, you know, sex appeal. This is the crew throwing out these luscious world-renowned videos and giving you that bit of knowledge and reprieve in this cruel, cruel world. If you don't know what you're doing, stop DMing your friends that have equally no idea what they're doing, and get in touch with us with any concerns, questions, epiphanies, objects, or notes, and or just to say hello, or take it to a professional and have them do it instead. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, and DK with another absolutely fan-goddamn-tastic install video. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.